Good morning, young minds. Yashwantrao Chauhan, Maharashtra Open University, in accordance of National Education Policy 2020 अंडरग्रेजुएट प्रोग्राम के अंतर्गत बीकॉम फर्स्ट ईयर के साथियों के लिए सेमेस्टर 1 बुक द मेकिंग ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया में दिए गए महत्वपूर्ण प्रश्नों को हम आसानी से समझेंगे। ये पार्ट 2 है। Cabinet Mission Plan. Finally, the Cabinet Mission Plan of 1946 laid down the detailed framework for the establishment of the Constituent Assembly. This was a crucial step both for the transfer of power from the British to India and for designing the future system of governance. The main challenge was to determine to whom power would be transferred and who would constitute the assembly. According to this plan, the Constituent Assembly would consist of elected members as well as nominative members. Members from British India were to be elected while representatives of the princely states were to be nominated by their rulers. Since direct elections by the people were not feasible at that time, members from British India were elected indirectly by the provincial legislative assemblies. There were 11 provinces under governors and 4 chief commissioners of provinces, each sending representatives. As per the scheme, 296 members were to represent British India and 93 members were to represent the princely state, making a total of 389 members. The Cabinet Mission Plan gave approval for the formation of the Constituent Assembly. Elections had to be held for this assembly. The main contest in these elections was between the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. While the Congress campaigned under the slogan of Quit India, Chale Jao, the Muslim League focused on its demand for the creation of Pakistan. The situation was further worsened by the rise of communalism. संविधान बनाने में जिन मुख्य लोगों की ने अपना योगदान दिया है उनके बारे में हम थोड़ा सा समझ लेते हैं। सबसे पहले है B.N. Rao. The British government assigned a special responsibility to B.N. Rao in the Governance Secretariat. He was asked to prepare a draft acceptable to both the Congress and the Muslim League. The task of preparing a framework for the new constitution while maintaining the unity of India was extremely difficult. With his vast experience in the Indian civil service and deep knowledge of law, B.N. Rao prepared a 19-page draft in January 1946, presenting a constitutional framework. According to this plan, India would remain part of the Commonwealth and it would consist of 3 main components: Union of Hindustan, Union of Pakistan, India states and tribal areas. He also highlighted that India must immediately take responsibility for certain fundamental issues. Number 1, establishing peace within India and abroad. Number 2, raising the nutritional level and improving the standard of living of Indians. Number 3, providing equal opportunities for education to all. Number 4, improving the public health system. The significance of these 4 points is evident even today. B.N. Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly and played a vital role in discussion with the drafting committee. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar himself acknowledged this contribution, stating that although the credit for constitution making is often given to him, an important share also belongs to B.N. Rao by presenting a framework even before the formal Constituent Assembly was established. Rao greatly contributed to the intellectual and constitutional debates that shaped the final constitution. M.N. Roy. The idea of having a constituent assembly for drafting an independent constitution of India was first proposed in 1934 by M.N. Roy. Now some questions for practice. Under which historical background was the Indian Constitution written? The historical background of the Indian Constitution, the Constituent Assembly, was long and filled with struggle. India emerged as a nation through the process of challenging British imperialism. The nature of the new constitution was shaped by the Indian freedom movement as well as the movements for social equality. The acceptance by the British that the Indian people would frame their own constitution and the subsequent formation of the Constituent Assembly marked a great victory of the freedom struggle. Reaching this stage was not an easy task. To fully understand this journey, it is necessary to study the context of British colonialism. What is the meaning of the British colonialism? The British came to India in 1600 AD, and for nearly 3.5 centuries, India remained under the grip of British imperialism. This long period can be understood in the context of the three stages of capitalism. First is mercantile capitalism, second is industrial capitalism, third is finance capitalism. In the first stage, mercantile capitalism, the British entered India by establishing trade relations and slowly strengthened their position. In the second stage, industrial capitalism, they exploited India's economy by using raw materials from Indian colonies to produce finished goods in Britain, which were then sold in India. This drained India's wealth and weakened its economy. In the third stage, finance capitalism, the British established modern infrastructure such as railways, postal services, and telecommunication systems, thereby consolidating their rule over India. The Indian response to these three stages of capitalism was different at each level. In the first stage, the Indian population hardly realized the impact as the people were divided into different kingdoms and princely states. In the second stage, India suffered direct economic exploitation, leading thinkers like Dadabhai Naoroji to put forward the economic drain theory, which awakened political consciousness. The sale of British goods produced from India raw materials deepened colonial exploitation. In the early 19th century, the spread of Western education initiated by Lord Macaulay brought Indian society into contact with new cultural ideas, leading to a clash with orthodox traditions. This gave rise to several social reformers such as Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Gopal Hari Deshmukh, and Behramji Malabari. In the later 19th century, this social awakening merged with political awakening, leading to the formation of the Indian National Congress in 1885. Though these debates and movements, discussions on equality and liberty emerged, however, the British tried to prevent the growth of fraternity among Indians. In the third stage, finance capitalism, the spread of communication systems such as post and railways facilitated the rise of a wider political consciousness across India. This eventually helped in creating a sense of national unity. A key aspect across all three stages was the laws enacted by the British. Although British rule was imperial in nature, they strongly believed in the idea of the rule of law. Thus, the series of legislations passed by the British laid the foundation for the later journey towards Constitution of India. Now we understand background of the making of the Constitution. The Constituent Assembly of India worked on framing the Constitution between 1946 and 1949. Although the process took almost 3 years, which some critics considered too long. It is important to understand the background of the period before making such judgments. The 20th century was marked by two opposite trends across the world: the spread of democracy and the rise of the most violent events in human history. The 1930s and 1940s were decades of great upheaval. Japan's militarism created terror in Asia. Mussolini's Italy adopted aggressive policies. In Germany, Adolf Hitler carried out the massacre of the Jews between 1941 and 1945. Nearly 6 million Jews were killed in what is known as the Holocaust, one of the darkest chapters in world history. At the same time, under Stalin's Russia, large-scale violence took place. In 1945, the United States bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing thousands and leaving the world in shock, even though it entered the Second World War. The British Empire too was shaken by these events. Thus, when the Constituent Assembly was formed in 1946, the entire world was still under the shadow of violence. The Nuremberg trials were taken place to prosecute war crimes. India too had left the impact of the war, as thousands of Indian soldiers were forced to fight and sacrifice their lives for the British. At the same time, the partition of India had begun to take shape. The partition of 1947 resulted in the death of lakhs of people, communal riots, and one of the most tragic and blood-stained events in world history. It was as severe as the Holocaust for India. Soon after partition, in January 1948, Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, was assassinated. Riots broke out again, disturbing the fabric of social harmony. Despite all this turmoil, the Constituent Assembly continued its work. The situation within the country was equally alarming. At the time of independence, only 15% of the population was literate, unemployment was high, and the nation faced the challenge of producing enough food to feed its people. The national income was very low, and achieving economic self reliance was a major challenge. Another challenge was the integration of princely states. Some states were unwilling to join India, and the government had to negotiate with them, sometimes even use force to ensure they become part of the Indian Union. Balancing regional identities while maintaining national unity was not an easy task. In short, the Constituent Assembly functioned at a time when the environment outside was violent and unstable. The nations faced challenges of social unity, economic self reliance, and political stability. India's immense diversity made constitution making even more difficult. That the Constituent Assembly was able to frame the Indian Constitution in such a turbulent period is truly remarkable and matter of historical pride. Thank you for watching.